What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the after credits scene. We are talking episode 2 of She-Hulk. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so whenever we drop new content, you'll be the first one to find out about it. And then share this sucker all across the multiverse. We're on our way to 200 subscribers. We're closing in on 150, and it wouldn't take much to get us to the 200 mark. So if you have a chance to share this, if you know somebody who's not subscribed, or maybe you're not subscribed, we still got a lot of people watching the channel that aren't subscribed. So make a YouTube channel, or pardon me, make a YouTube account, subscribe to our channel, or share this with somebody that you think might be interested. We really appreciate it. There was a whole lot in episode 2 to enjoy. If you go back and watch my prediction video, I was pretty spot on with the idea that this was going to be a little bit of a filler episode. You know, there's a lot more cameos coming, a lot more story that's going to happen, but we have to get from Jen's origin story all the way through to now she's working in the Department of Superhuman Affairs at a different law firm. And so those are the things that we saw in the trailer that we really had to get to. So as far as a filler episode, this would constitute a filler episode. You kind of had to get from one plot point to another to really open the story up. But I said in my prediction video, I still thought it was going to be a fun episode. You got to meet some new characters. You laid a few seeds, and it had a good little cliffhanger at the end. So we're going to kind of break down the whole episode here. There were things at the beginning, you know, especially harkening back to episode 1, where Bruce was trying to tell Jen that, hey, this life is different. There are things about this life that you're going to really have to struggle with, and she kind of fights it. And not so much from a feminist angle, like she's got it under control, but just this idea that she can have both. I can hide, that if I can control whether or not I look like the Hulk or not, I can just hide and nobody has to know, and I can keep doing my job. She quickly finds out that she can't, because with those powers, she almost has a responsibility to step up and help people when she can. And she even makes a case for it whenever she gets fired. Was I just supposed to let those people get hit by a desk? But it had ramifications, and I thought logical ramifications in the courtroom, that, you know, you saved the jury's life, you saved the judge's life. Granted, that's going to be cause for a mistrial because everybody's now biased. So logical ramifications there, and that's one thing I've really enjoyed, and I spoke about it in our first review, was the way that they did the origin story, the way that they tied up some loose ends and answered some fan servicey questions, made me think that this show is going to be the product of some very good writing. That there's a lot of things that they're going to tie up, they're going to write it really well. And I think that has a lot to do with the director as well. You know, if you go back and look at her story, she had been trying for a directing spot with Marvel for a while, and finally went in there and pitched this idea and what she wanted to do. And so you're able to get a lot of these fan servicey things, and the character and the style of show really lends themselves to it. So they answered a lot of those questions in this episode with why did this happen, why did that happen, the same way they did in episode 1. And it really made for a smooth episode. It had a nice pacing to it. We're going to get to Easter eggs near the end, so hang on for that. We're going to combine this video and our Easter egg video all into one. But moving forward, you know, like I said, when Jen gets fired, she has this conversation with Bruce, and he kind of says, you know, he doesn't use it as an "I told you so" moment, even though he says, hey, you know, if you need to talk, I'm here. When Jen finally calls him, he's understanding. He says, you know, look, you've already made your decision. Live your own life. Do this your way. And he's encouraging and he's supportive. The shot of him in a spaceship zooming off to wherever, I thought was a nice touch. And if we're going to talk about poor CG, I think that was the one moment that was kind of like, that could have been better. But it was also the only spot in the show that I thought for a second, okay, they explained everything else logically. How is he able to get cell service way out there? Which for a super genius is probably more plausible than how did he get cell service on a beach in Mexico. But it was easy to kind of overlook that, but I just thought it was funny. I was like, wait a minute, he's got a cell phone in space? That would have really come in handy for Tony and Nebula in Endgame. The setup there could be some kind of Planet Hulk, World War Hulk. There's all kinds of theories. Was the ship a messenger? Was it his something from the Grandmaster? Was it Hulk's long lost son that he doesn't know about? There's all kinds of storylines that they could use there, I don't think that this show will tackle where he goes. I think that might have been the last moment where you see him, and this was a plot device to, similar to the end of Age of Ultron, where Hulk gets in a ship and disappears, which would be the second time that's happened in the MCU now. I think it's a device to get him someplace else, to take him off and eventually tell this story should the Universal rights and some other things between Disney and Universal work themselves out. It was a way to kind of hint at this plot line but not really go anywhere with it. I could be completely wrong, but I just think this show has a lot more space and things that it could do rather than continuing to follow Bruce's journey while we're following Jen's journey. So I think that's probably the last time you see Bruce Banner or get any more of his story, unless it's in some kind of Easter egg drop or an after credit scene. After all that, you have Jen looking for jobs. She goes home. You get to meet her family. We get to see Ched and his behavior called into question as to whether or not Bruce's comment about his super genius brother Ched was really a factual comment, or if he was just being tongue-in-cheek. I would tend to go tongue-in-cheek just by the way that they played him off, but who knows? It might have just been a family joke, but it could be true, and there could be something there, and it could be a nice, fun little addition to the story. Jen's dad is played by a guy named Mark Lynn Baxter. Some of you guys that are my age or older will remember a show in the late 80s, early 90s called Perfect Strangers. Mark Lynn Baxter was on that show with Bronson Pinchot. There's a little addition for you. I'm full of useless knowledge, and that's one of those pieces. But it was really cool to see somebody, another actor, another character that, there's somebody new in the MCU, and it was just a fun little role for him. And I thought her family was very endearing, and he was very charming, pulling her aside and saying, hey, I just wanted to check on you. That was really cool too. And his comments about, well, now that are you an Avenger now, and can you answer these questions? And he starts asking questions about Hawkeye's arrows, as to whether or not does he go around and pick them up? Does it, it seems kind of dangerous if you just leave them all laying out. Again, the writing and the directing, the little fan service things and the comments that people make on Twitter that don't get any traction in a series or a show. I love that they're throwing those things in there. It's almost another way, without Jen actually looking at the camera and doing it, to break the fourth wall. Like the writers and the directors are going, yeah, we heard you. And it sounds just as dumb on screen as it does when you say it on social media. I thought those were really fun moments. We got to see the damage control facility after Jen takes her new job with JLK and H. JLK and H, by the way, are the initials of some of the writers and creators of the She-Hulk comic line. You can look that up on your own, but those are the initials of some of those characters. Some of those not characters, those people actually. But we got to see some of the law office. We got to see the damage control Supermax facility. It popped up in Ms. Marvel, and we also saw a sneak peek of it when Wong opens a portal from China back to Emil Blonsky's cell in Shang-Chi. So, and that plays into a scene near the end of the episode that we'll talk about here in just a minute too. As Jen goes to the Supermax facility and gets to meet Blonsky, their interaction was really great, and I'm loving the cameos, and they fit seamlessly. There's not forced. It's really enjoyable, and I think we're going to get a lot more stuff like that. The trailer had Wong in it. The trailers had some other superhero characters that are a little more obscure. We haven't gotten Daredevil yet, and so I think this show has a whole lot of promise. I wouldn't necessarily put it up there and say, oh, best MCU show ever. It's good and I'm enjoying it, but it's right now it doesn't have the character drama and the connections in that regard that I would say, oh yeah, this is a really excellent show. But it is mainstream, fun, Marvel stereotype, cookie cutter Marvel. And so I think in that regard, it's going to be an excellent show. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And you can tell it's being directed and written by people that just love the universe. And so that's going to be really exciting as well. When Emil starts talking about why he's in prison and how he deserves a retrial and all these kind of things, it was this idea of moral gray areas continues to pop up, and I love the idea of not painting heroes as completely perfect and not painting villains as completely evil. That everybody has the opportunity for a second chance, and everybody good can turn bad, and so we have to be careful. We have to take care of that. That morality is something to be protected and fought for. But as Emil was laying out his case for being the victim here, I was pumped full of super soldier serum, and I was the good guy. I was sent to capture Bruce Banner, and I was sent to do this. He conveniently leaves out the part where after he's gotten the super soldier serum, after he recovers from his first fight with the Hulk, he then goes and assaults or possibly even kills one of his military teammates, and assaults and forces a scientist to inject him with Bruce Banner's blood. And that's what creates Abomination. So it would not surprise me if for a little while when Emil gets out, he does something horrible and she regrets letting him out. But this is definitely, that wouldn't surprise me. I don't think that's going to happen though, because they did a good job of setting up some Thunderbolts threads here. You heard Emil talk about his spiritual journey and how he had 7 pen pals that were also incarcerated, and he mentions them more than once. Him and his 7 friends. You're getting some Thunderbolt references there. I would imagine him. You're going to have probably Yelena. You're going to have U.S. Agent. You've got Valentina and several others here. Baron Zemo, and then whoever else they decide to throw in there to round out their Thunderbolts cast. They're laying some groundwork there for that. So call that an Easter egg if you want to, but I thought that was pretty on the nose. And if you don't know anything about it, obviously go look it up. And it's Thunderbolts movie's already been announced, but they're laying those threads out there. The conversation with Jen where she calls Bruce back and says, "Hey, I'm going to take this Blonsky case," reminded me of the conversation that Tony Stark has with Rhodes, Don Cheadle's version of Rhodes in Iron Man 2, where Rhodes shows up at the court hearing at the Capitol, and Tony looks all surprised, and he walks up, and Don Cheadle says, "It's me, I'm here, let's get on." And it was just Marvel's way of saying, yeah, we know we replaced the actor, let it go. This was another really fan servicey moment where Bruce says, "Oh, it was such a long time ago. I'm a completely different person now," literally. I thought that was really funny just to say, yeah, it's not even me anymore. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, it's canon, but that wasn't me. And maybe that's how they end up tackling the Daredevil thing. It could be something very easy, but I'm confident we're going to get those explanations when it comes to Daredevil, because we're getting these little explanations about stuff that really doesn't matter. I think they're really going to take their time with it. So, again, as far as the series is concerned, I think there's some good things to look forward to. After that, the after credits scene, there wasn't really much there other than just what would your family do if they had somebody that strong and that powerful? Well, that they would take care of, you'd get them to help take care of little tasks as well. Hey, could you hang this TV? That way I don't need 2 people in a ladder. Could you hold up the car so I don't have to go buy a jack stand? hey, could you bring all this water into the house that, you know, it would take me months to bring it? Like, all these little things that only parents would think of and would ask their child to do if they had that ability. All those, you know, hey, go mow the yard, you know, empty the dishwasher, do all those kind of things is the same kind of vibe. So that was fun. I've also heard that there are after credit scenes after at least the first 4 episodes, because that's what the media was given. So don't forget to check those out. And if they do it for the first 4 episodes, I would be willing to bet you they're going to do it for the subsequent episodes as well, given how insignificant the after credit scene at the end of episode 2 was. I think having those little fun, plucky moments is just going to be, even if it kind of plays off like a blooper, they're going to have more of those. So early prediction there, but whatever. Let's get to some Easter eggs before we wrap up this video. Most of my Easter eggs are going to come in the form of the internet web search that Jen is doing with the woman that becomes her paralegal right after she gets fired. She's in her house, and I'm sure there's some things in her house that some eagle-eyed fan will recognize. You know, I was picking up on the empty liquor bottles, the Chinese food, but everything else, I'm sure there's something in there that somebody missed that's like, oh, that's from this, or that's an Easter egg. But the website, if you pause the episode and look at the website, right here, one side here, you will see, over here, you will see that some of the ads on the right side, there's a QR code at the top, and that takes you to another Marvel website that has a digital She-Hulk comic from 2004. You can check that one out. There's a lot of visuals in that one that are probably going to pop up in the show later on in some different panels and stuff and conversations. Little side note here, there was only like one true fourth wall break in this episode, and it was so brief that it didn't play off as well as the ones in episode 1, and so I'm curious to see how much of that they do. Maybe they go into it in later episodes and it just didn't fit here, but I would imagine that they're going to play into that a little more later, but I'm kind of glad that they weren't going too heavy-handed into it, although I'm sure in a couple of episodes my tune may change if they do a really good job with it, to use it in a way that's fun and adds to the story rather than something that's going to be detracting. More Easter eggs on that website. There was, in addition to that QR code, there was an advertisement for some tennis shoes similar to Air Jordans, and they were called Iron Man 3s, which I thought was hilarious for a couple of reasons. One, Marvel really has gone overboard. I don't know if it's just different directors who have love for that movie, or if there's some kind of unwritten rule in the Marvel offices that when they make a movie that doesn't do well, if they like it, they're going to spend time going back and saying, hey, we like this movie. Hey, it's okay. We're going to try to redeem it. They've done that with Age of Ultron in several spots with the Ultron heads. They've poked fun and said stuff about Thor Dark World. And they've done it several times with Iron Man 3. In episode 1, when Jen wakes up and she walks out into the cabana there is an Iron Man helmet that looks similar to one that pops up in Iron Man 3. I would venture to guess it probably is from Iron Man 3, given the fact that the Easter egg on that website is for tennis shoes called Iron Man 3s. So that was really cool. And then underneath that, actually not underneath that, but below the heading there were different tabs searching for Norse mythology. That would be different things that we would call Norse mythology, but would actually in truth be Asgardian things. And so there was a little nod to Norse mythology, Thor, Asgard, things like that. There was also a link called Find Ant-Man. I don't know if that means he's missing and they're teasing that, or if it's some kind of game like Where's Waldo. That's my guess. I think it's some kind of goofy little game called, like a Where's Waldo, but it's called Find Ant-Man, and he's small and he's someplace or whatever. So that could be really interesting as well. The other thing I wanted to point your attention to is there were 2 ads underneath the Iron Man 3's shoe advertisement. One of them, actually both of them were rather huge. The first one I'll talk about was the second ad, and it said, what's with this giant man sticking out of the ocean? That is a direct reference to the dead corpse of Tiamat, the celestial who was stopped at the end of Eternals. It's the first time that anything has mentioned that, and I thought it was excellent that they mentioned it for MCU purposes, but also because that's another thing that's all over the internet in real life. People on Marvel chat rooms and other places going, why haven't these shows and these movies referenced the fact that there's this giant body sticking out of the ocean somewhere? Why didn't somebody else come to help? You know, all these kind of things. I'm less into why didn't people come to help, because there's very few Avengers left to do those things right now. The response time is pretty minimal. And some of these things happen so quickly, by the time that it gets found out and seen, it's over. So I'm not really worried about that, but subsequent movies and subsequent series not going, hey, well, what's with that hand? What's with that thing? Was a little odd. And so, but I think they've mentioned it in enough time here that we can go, okay, they're aware of it. Maybe we didn't get that scene in some of these other shows, but there's a lot of other things going on in shows like Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, and other things. I think the only place, and even in Thor, Love and Thunder, I think the only place that might have made a little sense to highlight it would have been Ms. Marvel, because she has a YouTube channel, she's a teenager, and she would be all things Avengers and all things, you know, all those kind of things, and presumably talk about that and go, what's with this thing, and what's with these heroes, and did you know that this happened? Anyway, other than that, the other one that we're going to talk about, and we're going to end on this because it was huge given the end of Ms. Marvel and what we know is coming. There is an ad that says, man fights, or bar brawl breaks out with man with metal claws. A definite Wolverine reference, and another sure sign that mutants are coming. They've been dropping hints, even in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when they went to Madripoor. There is a bar that is frequented and even in the comics owned by Logan, by Wolverine. And so it's a place that is in the comics, and in some iterations he owns it, and some iterations he just frequents that bar. But they were doing it way back then. They dropped the M word in Ms. Marvel, and then they've done this little bit here. All those Easter eggs, it's just a fun place to put a bunch of Easter eggs, and it was a really easy place to stick those and then not have to try to work them in sneakily someplace else. In addition to the throwbacks to everything that happened in Incredible Hulk with Emil Blonsky and Bruce Banner. In addition to the Hawkeye references that Jen's dad makes at the dinner table. There were all kinds of things, including the Shang-Chi tie-in, where Jen takes the Abomination case, and then there's this video released that shows the underground fight ring that Shang-Chi and Katie find themselves in the Shang-Chi movie, where Wong and Abomination are fighting each other. The interesting thing that I want to point out there is that the news was reporting that Blonsky had escaped from prison, but we all know that he was there. So either that happened, my guess is that happened, and time-wise it would almost have had to have happened before Jen came to the Supermax facility, because it's literally the next day that Jen calls her law firm and says, hey, I'm going to take the case. And it has to be the next day. It can't be a week or so later, because her boss says, I need to know tomorrow. So presumably that means that the Sorcerer Supreme, Wong, got Blonsky out of prison on his own to go and fight in this ring. So is Wong trying to rehabilitate Blonsky himself? Is Wong going to be the tie that lets Jen know he really is rehabilitated? Or is Wong the tie to something else here? I think the sorcerer aspect and the hidden aspects of the Sorcerer Supreme, and the idea that the Sorcerer Supreme is somebody that would know things that other people wouldn't know. and be able to say this is a secret thing or this is a hidden thing, like they did in Multiverse of Madness, where he goes, oh yeah, the Darkhold is just a copy, and Mount Wundagore, and oh, the Book of Vishanti is an actual book, and I know where it's at. Like all those different things that only the Sorcerer Supreme would know, I think is a really good thread to run through Phase 4, 5, and 6 to say, oh yeah, there's these things out there, and here's an easy way to explain these things in universe without having to do a lot of leaps and bounds. You can kind of harken back to that, or you can throw Wong in and he can explain something similar to the rings at the end of Shang-Chi, and then he can kind of pop out a scene. Maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe we'll get a little more information from him. We know he's going to pop up in Jin's office at some point. He's going to pop up in some battles. So anybody's guess at this point. But it was a fun episode. I said it in my prediction video earlier that it was going to be a filler episode, but it was going to be a whole lot of fun. And so it was. We got some new things. We got some cameos. We got some really cool Easter eggs. And I'm excited to see where the show goes from here. Even though the episodes are shorter, I'm enjoying them a lot more than, say, a WandaVision episode that, while the acting was really great, the story was really great, the visuals were amazing, the first 3 or 4 episodes of WandaVision were what's going on, and I don't understand, and it cut off so briefly that you would go, no! But these just have really good pacing, and they're a lot of fun to watch. There's a lot of rewatchability there because they're just done very well. So interested to see what you think. Really hope you guys are liking it. Tell me what other Easter eggs you guys caught, what other things you're enjoying about the series. Please help us get to 200 subscribers by subscribing, by liking this video, by sharing it with other people, and check out some of our other content over here. We got tons and tons of things over here. Lots of other content that you can sink your teeth into, and when the next one drops, guys, we'll catch you right back here. Later.